Welcome to the Gyrl Podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. Whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's glow up together. All right, friends, happy Thursday. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic week. All right, let's talk about our topic today. I'm going to be joined by Dr. Brian Arnold. We're going to be talking about being built for purpose, really becoming who you were called to be. I know we talk a lot about purpose here, which I think is so important for all of us to figure out what is the reason. What's our reason? Why are we here? What are we called to do? So I'm excited to have this conversation with Brian here shortly. So let's go ahead and pull him into the podcast. All right. Well, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Brian to the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm excited about being here today.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we get started by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do?
Gotcha. Well, Dr. B, that's what people usually call me. And I've seemed lately to be just doing a whole bunch of stuff. And so I would say over the last 4 or 5 months, I've really been concentrating on coaching people doing podcasts, which has been super fun. Because there's so many, I guess, nuances into what we do. I don't think people, well, I can just start talking and we're going okay. But there's all the software, there's all the technology, there's getting the guests, there's, sending out messages. So there's all these different aspects of it, but there's still this huge fear in people that they're scared. Maybe they're worried about the way that they look, or they think that they don't sound very good, or, they think that they can't, manipulate the technology at the same time. And so I have every Friday I do it's a web class. It's a free web class for people to kind of say, do I want to do this? And then I'm actually even launching a new podcast here coming up. I think it's going to be called First Talk or something like that. I think is what I'm gonna call it, and you'll be like like help people if they want to be a host. Like I'm gonna let you host on my podcast. You'll have my audience. You'll have our, to be able to say, do I like this or do I not like this? And so I'm just having fun doing that. I have 8 children, so they are grown, which is great, and now 16 grandkids, which makes it super fun. One they try to run in this room here in a minute, but I keep telling her I got this light that says when this light is on, you're not supposed to run in here. But she's 3 and she don't care because, Papa is, it's my attention time, right? And I have to sit
Mhm,
her out.
mhm.
But yeah, so life just seems to be so fun right now. I have my podcast is called the one that is kind of the one that started is called Journey to Freedom. And Journey to Freedom, it came. I went to this trust leadership, incredible seminar thing that I went to, about 400 people there, but there's only 30 folks of color that were there. And I'm going, well, okay, what's going on? Why are we getting this information? Because, we kind of don't trust ourselves sometimes. We don't trust each other. We don't trust,
Mhm.
there's all these trust issues that we have, especially as Black men. So I came back from that and said, I want to do, God, what do you want me to do with this? 'Cause I know it's something. And I said, I really want to try to get this information out to folks of color. And um, he says, no, I want you to work with Black men. And I'm like, but that's hard. It's not that I'm not one, or, but I know our culture. I know that we don't talk to each other. I know that we
Mhm,
don't have a lot of, a trust, all the stuff that goes into it. And so,
mhm.
175 episodes later, we've now interviewed 175 Black men that are doing stuff all across the country. And it has just been the greatest thing ever. I took a group of 18 of them to Alabama in January and realized that the South, I mean, you live in the South, but you live in Atlanta. So that's not like Alabama, Birmingham.
Yeah, yeah.
You could get to Alabama, Birmingham in a few hours,
Right.
but it's a whole different world. And so it was just, neat being, we did a civil rights tour. We ended up at the Equal Justice Museum. I don't know if
Mm.
you've ever been to that museum, but it is, oh my gosh, transforming. And so there was 27 of us total, and we started out in Birmingham, a tour there, and then went to Selma, went over the bridge, and kind of talked about that. And we did this whole thing with story, and then ended up. So yeah, I keep myself like way busier than when I
I know.
start thinking about it. So yeah.
Oh, wow, I love it. I love so many things you said, so I'm trying to, like, just sort of, like, break those things out because it's really cool. First of all, I love, what you're doing on the podcast front as far as, like first of all, it's always really cool to talk to someone else who is a podcast host because I think a lot of times people think that it's just like, "Oh, yeah, you just get a mic and start talking." And there are so there are so many, like you said, nuanced things that comes with like deciding to do this because you have to really make sure that well for me I know when I started I wanted to make sure that there was like space for what I wanted to do and I want to make sure that it really was adding value to the world and to the target group of people who I was hoping to like connect to and I think like that's usually in my opinion the place where people don't start they don't start
Mhm.
to think about like how can I have impact in a space? And so I love that you're doing that because you're giving people not only helping them with like the strategic side of it, but you're also helping them like, let's test it out and see if this is even something you want to do before you go and buy the equipment, get the website, do all the things. When maybe you're like, ugh, I don't want to do this because I think there's so like you mentioned all the things that are involved. Like I'm a person who strives for excellence. So
Mhm.
when I'm doing this and I have a full-time day job. So I'm doing this in addition to my
In
everyday
addition
job.
to
And it's like I don't have like I said, I do have editors, but like the rest of all the administrative things that come out to my guests and the follow-ups and the emails and the discussion guide, like those are all like me, doing that.
Ooh,
And and so I love that you're setting that stage for people so that they have the opportunity to decide like, "Yes, this is what I wanna do for real."
and what's kinda cool is all of those things that outside stuff can be done, but you have to pay for it, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, what kind of budget do I really truly wanna
Mhm.
have when I'm doing this? When you find out that 90% of people who start a podcast hard don't even get to at 10 episodes. And it blows me away because I start thinking, "Well, why did you quit so early?" Well, they would say, "Well, people didn't, they didn't watch my show or they didn't like the show." And I'm like, "What else in life have you ever done where you did it 10 times and you were good at it?"
Right.
Nothing. There's
Exactly.
not one thing in your life you've ever done 10 times and you are all of a sudden good at it.
Mhm.
And yet that's kind of the expectation. Like, I'm just gonna start talking and everybody's gonna start listening to me. Well, you have to become a good communicator, right? You have to be good at asking questions and listening. And so, especially if you're going to do interviews, right? If you're just going to, do a podcast and it's just you, then you can kind of talk about whatever you want to and hope
Right.
that your subject is well. But if you're going to interview people, yeah, we got two ears and one mouth. And so a lot of people, they'll ask a question and then they'll talk for 10 minutes and then ask another question. And like, well, wait a minute. You're supposed to listen and then whatever they're saying, react to that and then you'll be able to move forward. And so, yeah, there's just so many, yeah, like I said, those little nuance. Not that it's hard, and not that you nobody that really has a vision and a goal and wants to do something can't do it. My very first podcast was I did one called the Black Wealth Experience, where I just
Mhm.
really wanted to get out financial information. I was doing mortgages and financial services, and I wanted to get out information. And so I enjoyed doing that. I interviewed people, and we talked about generation wealth, and I think I have 50 episodes of that where we just talked about that. But then I did one where I would do a mortgage and I said, I need to get leads. Can podcast help me to get leads for my mortgage business? Because I do reverse
Mhm.
mortgages. And so what I ended up doing is I created one was called the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. And I found all these real estate agents and I interviewed them so that they could be on the podcast because I would try to call them and sit down with coffee with them and try to get them to, hey, I'm a good guy. You want to do business with me? And they're like, I don't want nothing to do with you. Talk to the head. I already got lenders and I already got all these people. So then I called them up and said, hey, how would you like to be on my podcast? And I can highlight you and spotlight you here in the area and boom. So when I would call 50 numbers, I would get 5 people to answer the phone because nobody answers the phone anymore. So I get 5 people to answer the phone, and about one of them will let me do coffee with them. When I started doing a podcast, I'd make 50 phone calls. 5 would still answer the phone. All 5 of them would want to do the podcast. And about another 25 of the 50, because I left a voicemail saying, "Do you want to do a podcast?" All call me back. And so within like I'd say 3 or 4 months, I had like 70
Mhm.
episodes. And now I'm doing all this follow up and I'm calling them and they're giving me leads and they're giving me, I'm like, whoa, what did I just start? And I wasn't even trying to get subscribers because I think people believe you don't have a really good podcast unless you have all these subscribers. And that's simply not
Yeah.
true. If you have the
It's
people who
yeah.
listen to you, yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
it's not. I mean, I agree with you. Because I think even coming into it myself in the beginning, I just thought like, oh, I got to grow the numbers. I got to get more people, or or people like, oh, do you have a lot of YouTube followers? Do you have a lot of social media followers? And what I wanted, I was like, look, if I can just touch one person, like if an episode goes out and one person listened and they said, you know what, wow, like I learned from that guest. I'm gonna come back next week because it takes time to grow. Like, we have to stop living in this place of like what we see on social media that just tells us that somebody just instantly, I mean, and there are some people, there are cases where someone just has overnight success. But when you build something and you see it build slowly and you're able to grow it to something where you feel it is having an impact in the world and it is helping people, then you don't really care about the numbers so much. You just want to have, like for me, I just want my show to have impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it is so, so true. And sometimes I think people get stuck on saying, well, if I'm going to be monetized, right? If I'm going to
Mhm,
make money doing a podcast,
mhm.
then YouTube is has to pay me.
Yeah.
And that is there's so many ways, like with the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight podcast, right? So I'm calling folks, they're coming on my podcast. I don't have any subscribers, but they're giving me loans. So I have to
Mhm.
look at that as monetization, right? Because
Right, exactly.
I have a loan and I'm making money because they gave me because they wouldn't have even had a
Yeah.
conversation with me off the podcast, then that's a monetization. And I have like 21 different ways that these podcasts can be monetized,
Yeah.
while
Yep.
you're saying, if you want to be full time, but I think we get so stuck in this like celebrityism or I got to be
Mhm,
famous, and
mhm.
impact and fame are two different things. You need to become the
Yes.
person that God put you on this earth to be. And if you're doing that and a podcast fits into that, then you're at the
Mhm.
right spot. You're right where he wants you. And
Yes.
if the other
Yeah.
stuff comes, it's great. But
Mhm.
if it doesn't, it's still great. It's still
Exactly. Yeah, because like you said, you have to determine. I love that you said that. Like you have to determine like are you being the person that you were called to be? Are you doing the thing that you feel like you were called to be doing? And when you are doing that, when you are truly like in passion and purpose, then you don't worry about that. The other stuff comes. Like for me, I mean, this is season 6 of my podcast and it took me till this year to get like monetization through Spotify ad network. I mean, after trying a lot of different things and, and doing packages, doing this, doing that, but just what I realized that it's being consistent. It's continuing to show up. It's continuing to show up even when, the things aren't all working, but just what kept me going in the back of my mind is that I feel this is what I was called to do. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be helping people. I'm supposed to be bringing people that are have amazing stories to tell and are doing amazing things and giving them an audience to hear their stories and that will help someone else. I mean, like I'm pretty sure like me, I always tell people like do not come on my show if you will not share the good, the bad, and the ugly.
absolutely.
Like, we want to hear like, people are gonna get more about out of hearing, like, you saying, "Well, I was stuck in a bad place, and then I kept doing these things and this and this and this, and then eventually, like, it paid off." As opposed to, like, don't come on and say, "I had an idea, and then tomorrow I was leaving my job. I was I was I left my job and I made $1,000,000." And I'm like, "Well, that
Yeah.
doesn't tell us anything."
No. Well, what's kind of as you're going through, when you said, if it's not working, but all work works. It's just whether it's, you said, "Well, it's not working the way I want it to," but
Mhm.
maybe it's just working on you till you become the person who it's there, and so, work is working on you, and so now you have to start
Yes.
thinking about all the ways that podcasting can truly help you. And I have a list of 31 different ways, whether it helps you be a better communicator, helps you with the
Mhm.
relationships, helps you be a better listener, helps you
Right.
write down the ththing, and I believe almost everybody, especially if you're in business and that kind of stuff, that you should have a podcast just so you can get better at relationship.
Right.
Because if
Yep.
relationship is everything and you begin to learn how to do that because now you're interviewing or talking to other people or just expressing yourself. I mean, so many people that are introverted that are able to
Mhm.
be extroverted when they get on a podcast. And I find
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong. I think some of the best podcasts are with introverted people because they think about it. They ask really good questions, they get
Yes.
really good answers.
Yes.
I
Yes.
sometimes I go, I struggle a little bit because I'm not introverted, and then I just going down a tangent like, wait a minute, let me shut up and let the other
Pull
person,
it back. Pull it back.
yeah, let me pull it back. And so, so many wonderful things can happen, when you put yourself out there and when you say, "Hey,
Mhm.
there's something that God really wants me to talk about, or something that
Mhm.
I know I can help. Maybe I can help women here, or maybe I can help,
Mhm.
people who have lost their jobs, or I can help,
Yeah.
people who just got a job and are trying to figure out the workplace, or well, I mean,
Yes.
millions and millions. What I think there's 40, I don't know how many, 4 million podcasts are in the world or something like that. And
So many.
yeah,
Uh,
but most of them
yeah.
don't have more than 10 episodes, which is like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
If you got something to say, I'm sure, let's help you express that. Let's help you use your
Mhm.
voice. And
Yeah.
what a neat way to do it. I was so excited just to be on your podcast, just, because I've been watching and see, I've watched some of your episodes and I'm like, man, she understands it. She got it. That she's helping people and making an impact. And if that's all we do, oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Alright, I'm perfectly fine, I'm perfectly fine with that. So I love this. I love this conversation, so much because I just feel like people are always seeking, through development, personal development work to figure out, like, how to get to the place that they have been called to be. And I know some people get there sooner than later, but as I like to look at it as if like we're always evolving, right? Like where you are today may not be where you are like 5 months or a year from now. I mean, I like to look at it as a person of faith. It's seasonal.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I always keep myself open to where God will place me next. Like if he says, well, this was a good run, Kyra.
Yeah.
It was a good run, and now I need you to do this, then I'm always open to that. But I just feel like what are some ways when you're thinking about someone sitting there listening to us, watching us now and saying, I hear you, Dr. B. I hear you, Kyra. I'm thinking about how do I know? Like, how do I know where I'm supposed to be? How do I understand and get that calling?
Yeah. That is so good because, I believe, if God created us to create and he implanted that in us, and all of us have a portion, not all of God's creativity, but he put something special in you. And you kind of know what it is you love to do. You kind of know what it is you like to do. You kind of know when you start smiling, like when I start pulling out, if I say I'm doing some coaching and I have somebody come to me and they're asking me this same question, and I'll go through a series of questions. What do you like to do? What is it that you can do? Anything you want to do? What would that be? And they start smiling and they start getting, leaning forward and they start getting super happy. I'm going, that's it. What are you doing now? Well, I'm working over at, Walmart and I hate it every single day that I go in. Okay, so what would it take to do what you're doing every single day? So why have you been at Walmart for 15 years?
Mhm.
Why haven't you pursued it? What is stopping you from, because I think you really know what you wanna do, but you just don't know how. And so
Mhm.
that's where we get to come in and start, coaching you and talk, okay, well, these are some things, maybe this is some things that I did. Why don't you go start just watching, pull some podcasts out of people doing the same thing. Pull out YouTube, because 80% of all YouTube is all how-to videos, right? So pull
Mhm.
some things out of people that are doing exactly what you love to do, and
Mhm.
then find out how they did it. Call them up, ask them, go, visit them. Do
Mhm.
you live, especially if you live in a big metropolitan area, you probably can find somebody. Go,
Mhm.
I'd love to mentor you. So many people will love it. You just ask them, you know, especially if you know who
Yes.
they are. And then you can begin to start seeing, and then obviously through a lot of prayer, you need to, hey God, what should I do next? Who should I communicate with next? But it's putting yourself out there because if you have anticipation and you start working on stuff, it begins to work. What you have to do for things to deteriorate is absolutely nothing. It's kind of one of those crazy laws, I think it's called the law of entropy or something that just says leave stuff alone and it'll fall apart. Everything in life, you don't wash your car, it gets dirty. You don't have to do anything to make it dirty. It's not like you go to a mud thing, I'm gonna make my car dirty today. But if you
Right.
want to make it clean, right, you have to go through steps of making it clean. You have to wash it,
Mhm.
you have to wax it, you have to do all these things. So in order to achieve the things that you want, you actually have to do something. If you want
Mhm.
your life to stay same or deteriorate or get worse, you don't have to do anything. Just keep doing what you're doing, and it's
Mhm.
gonna get to that point. And so find out. I love that question because it's find out what it is you love, and then
Mhm.
let's figure out how to do it in a way. Whether what's my prayer every day, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things that you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others. If that
Mhm.
can be your prayer every single day, and you say that, and you say, What can I do today that's going to please you, God, and then serve others?" And when I think about, I have my podcast is called Living Boldly with Purpose. And I don't think you can be in purpose without serving others. I don't
Mhm.
know if it's possible. If all you wanna do is serve you and make a whole bunch of money and all that kind of stuff, I'm not saying you can't do that because there's ways to do it. There's a whole lot of people who do that. But I don't think you can truly be in purpose. I don't think you can feel like I'm doing the thing I was put on this earth to do unless
Yeah.
it's serving others in some way.
Exactly. I agree with that. I think that's awesome. So we were talking earlier about impact, right? And having that impact and almost like fame
Mhm.
versus, impact. So let's look at, success. So what's the biggest misconception that you think people have about success? And how do you help the people that you coach, sort of like, I guess, get to a place to where, because to me, it's like, again, it's the impact over like really the success part.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think as a society, we have determine that success is, that fame or how many people love you or how many people look at
Mhm.
if we think about, I'm not successful online unless I have all these things. I'm not successful as an actor unless everybody's going to move. I'm not successful at basketball unless I'm in the NBA. We have this like conception of what success is. But what I found out and through the Journey to Freedom podcast, when I'm talking to all of these men that are doing, the first thing what I would say is success with your family. Do you have a family that loves you, that counts on you, that
Mhm.
makes things, what success with your coworkers, success with, if you're a person, I guess that people will come to when there's an
Mhm.
issue, you're probably a successful person because why would they bother with you if they knew
Right.
it was gonna fall apart, right? And success is turned on. Okay, so let's say I work at the boys club every single week and I go down there and all these young men are being formed and they're being transformed and they're learning how to be men and they're learning how to treat their women and they're learning how to do all these things. That's successful. Successful is I get up in the morning and I can't wait to do what I do. That's
Mhm.
successful. And it's not about how many, not all of us were predestined to be famous. Not all of us were, God did, He put us on for whatever He put us on for. And if we're working in that and we're working in purpose, then you do it, you're successful. Now, like I said, if you don't do anything and you just show up, sometimes I think a lot of us try to live our success through others. And so
Mhm.
I see that a lot when I think about sports. And believe me, I was an athlete. I went to college on an athletic scholarship. I understand sports. I love sports. I've been coaching track for 38 years. I
Mhm.
get it. But at the same time, when I can talk to, a young father and he's telling me that he knows more about stats of Patrick Mahone than he does about his kids, then I know we got an imbalance here. I know that we got
Mhm.
something that isn't making sense, because, Patrick Mahomes is never going to call you. He doesn't know you. You're
Right.
not on the team. You might say, This is my team, right? This is my team. We're going to win today, right? We're
Right.
going to lose, right? No, you're not on the team. They know exactly what they're doing, right? I love LeBron. I love, Michael Jordan. I'm not on the team. They
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
try to go in the stadium during practice and see if you're on the team, right? And you are, but sometimes that takes over. And I talk to a lot about the barbershop, and okay, we go to the barbershop and we talk
Mhm.
about all these things, but we don't talk about, our health, because
Right.
we don't talk about our finances. We don't
Mhm.
talk about our relationships. We talk about all this stuff where we're living our lives through other
Yep.
folks. And I guess one consistent theme that I can say, that has been in the Journey of Freedom podcast is, all of them has said there was somebody else in my life that mentored me, that helped me
Mhm.
work through it. That was all. And I had to understand who I am before I could be something for others. And so those have been two major themes. And then I've asked a lot of them are dads, and I ask about what it means to be a dad. Not that your kids need a dad, because all kids need fathers, but what does it mean to be a dad, and how does that change who you are and and how you represent yourself in the world? And so to me, that's when if you walk out every single day, and you have great relationships, and people, like I said, if people come to you when there's issues, if people come to you, not that you
Mhm.
can solve them all, because you can't. The
Right.
fact that they would trust you enough to
Mhm.
say, I need you, I need your help, I need your advice, tells you that you've been successful in relationships. And I think that's what God wants us to do.
I love that. I mean, that touched on so many things because you are so right. There are people out here living life vicariously through athletes and fighting other people. The social media fights about people just like I'm like, Do you know him? Like I'm just like you said, they're not going to call you seriously. They're not going to ask you to come to the stadium tomorrow.
You know? I'm not gonna wear another man's name on my back. My last name is Arnold, and I why would I put somebody else? That's just me. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's their legacy. They're living their best life. When I watch
Hmm.
television sometimes, and I'm thinking, I'm like, we're celebrating these folks that play pretend. They're actually playing people that are not them, and they're really good. Like, I love watching Denzel Washington. He is a great actor. He can play pretend about anybody, but
Hmm.
I'm not Denzel, right? I'm not gonna live my life through Denzel's success. You're right, I'm not even watch TV every night, all night, because if I'm doing it's a distraction, because it's taking me away from doing the things I could be doing to further my life and further my family, further my relationships. Yeah, and I'm not saying to a Sting concert a couple weeks ago. And, I've been listening to Sting for, I
Hmm.
don't know, I'm 60 years old now, so he's older, he's 70 something, so probably my whole life. And it was enjoyable, and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, I don't have Sting posters behind me, or, by all his gear and everything. I want to be entertained and I enjoy it, but I also think,
Hmm.
okay, what do I need to do tomorrow now, that's gonna make sure that I'm helping somebody else, not just me being entertained. And I think, some of the most depressed people or lonely people are the people who are celebrating not the things that they could do, but the accomplishments of others.
Mm, that's, that's a good point. I mean, I think that's really an amazing point to bring up. What do you say to people? Because what I would see is someone who is living life in that way is probably someone who is feeling stuck, right? Like they are not able to find like their own personal or, their freedom to do the thing. So if somebody came to you that you were working with and said, I'm just feeling stuck. What do I do?
First, let's find out why. Let's find out what's going on. Let's find out what is it that you've been trying to do. What have you not been able to touch? And then what do you not believe in? Like some people have so much anxiety, right? And anxiety about things, or they call it fear. I'm scared. Like I'm scared to public speak. And I say, well, okay. So fear to me is real and present danger. Something that a snake is on the path and they're getting ready to bite you, or a dog's coming out, or the police stops me, right? In some areas, right?
Mhm,
That is true fear right now, right? Gonna happen. When I think about like public speaking, or why a lot of people are stuck, is they have this anxiety about a future outcome that hasn't happened yet.
mm,
It's all about what if, what if, what if, and they live in this what if world. What if this happens? What if this happens? And I start asking that question, what if it doesn't? Then what do you get to do? Well, then everything would be great. What is making you think that this is going to happen? Is there something experience that you had that says, if I go try this and somebody's going to laugh at me or something? And I say, okay, so if that's the worst case scenario, is somebody laughs at you because of the way you spoke, does that end your life? I mean, is that
Right.
gonna take
Yeah.
your family? Is that gonna take away your is that gonna no? Okay, so now let's get over that fear. Now let's change that fear into anticipation. Because that same person who goes out and says, "I can't wait to speak, and I can't wait to see what's gonna happen, and maybe they're gonna give me all this money, and maybe I'm gonna, be able to take my kids to the amusement park, or I'll be able to do this. What if all that happens?" And now we start asking those what if questions on the possibilities. Now we can begin to okay, what do I need to work on? I'm not really good at this. I want to do a podcast. Okay, well, your first few episodes are going to suck. You're going to be terrible at it because you've
Exactly.
been doing it. You don't know how to do it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's how you're gonna learn. So you remember you told me you wanna have all these people watching your podcast? Not the first 5 episodes, you don't. You want, like, your mom, your brother, and 3 other people watching it, and then let them give you feedback. And then you wanna hide those shows maybe later on, or you can bring them back as a retro. But wait till you get good at it before you get this huge audience or get these people who are counting on you to give them this great information, because 'cause you're not gonna be good at it. And so realizing that's okay, that anything, and then reminding them anything you've done in life. Did you learn how to read in 5 days? Did you learn how to,
Mhm.
you know, all the things that we've learned how play basketball. I mean, you spend hours and hours in the driveway or in the garage throwing a basketball to the hoop. The first 10 times you picked up a basketball, were you good at it?
Right.
No, you weren't.
Mm.
And so you start that's how you begin to work through that. Now you may be in a place that, oh, I can't move forward in my job. And we say, well, maybe it's because of racial stuff, or maybe it's just because there's not room to move up, or whatever the reasons are. There's just too many places that you can go, and you don't have to be stuck there unless your calling is to fight that fight. And most of the people that I interact with, that's not their calling. This isn't a fight that you need to be fighting. This isn't what God is telling you to do. Is stay here so you can just complain every day. So what do
Yeah.
we need to do? What do we need to do to start moving the needle to where it's something you want to do? What do you need to be good at? How personal development. My belief is about 20% of our time should be spent on personal development, making me better. I just finished
Mhm.
a book called Be Do Have. I think it's going to come out next month. Yeah, I talked to my publisher again. It is like become the person you need to be before you can do, and then before you can have. And we do it so backwards. Try to have. I will buy this car. I done that. I went and bought myself a BMW once before I could afford it, and now I got to go hard try to do a whole bunch of stuff to be able to afford it. And then when I go to do it for it, I've never become the person who deserves to have that car that can
Yeah.
continue to maintain it. And we spend most of our lives trying to do, and that's why you're stuck. Is you're trying to do everything. Let's become that person who can do the thing that God put you on this earth to do, or the thing that you love, or the thing that you're great at. That's how we're going to get unstuck. That's how we're going to move forward, is we're going to start working on you. And things change so fast and as quickly when you do that. It isn't like I got to work on me for the
Yes.
next 25 years to figure out I did. If you
I
make a commitment,
if you just try. Yep. If
yes,
you just
yes,
I feel like if you
yeah.
just try, like, that's the thing. And, I love that. I absolutely love that because I think it's important. Because yes, people don't think about it, but yes, people are always trying to jump the steps in the middle. Like, we've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was guilty of it, like, with starting this business when I started Glow Up Girl. I started it, like, March 2020, like, right during the pandemic, and it was supposed to be like more of an in-person type gathering for women, but of course I had to pivot, and that's when I heard God tell me to start the podcast. But at the same time, I was starting the podcast and I was trying to do all these other things. I was like, "Oh, well, I see everybody's like, capitalizing on like, webinars and events and all this, that, and other. So I was just out there just throwing stuff, just doing things. And it was like, no, like I should have just stayed in my lane and took my time. So then I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money on putting something out there that I wasn't ready for yet. It wasn't time for me to do that. And yet I did it and then I failed. I learned. I failed fast.
Which is the best part of success, right? You have to fail. You show me one super successful person who hasn't failed a whole bunch of times, and I will like, please let me go. I'll go study him. I'll go spend time with him. I'm like, how is it that you can do this without failure?
Exactly.
But there's nobody. I can't find one person who
Right.
can tell me they didn't fail first.
Yeah.
And but it's that effort, like you said. You begin to try. You begin to do things and you
Mhm.
stop second guessing yourself. And that's why you might need a mentor. You might need somebody to step in and work with. And to try to do this stuff on alone, 8 billion people on the planet or whatever it is, and you try to do this all by yourself,
Mhm.
you're dumb if you.
I tell people all the time, like, you need a coach, a
Mhm.
mentor, you need a therapist. Like, you need all of them. And the therapist can't act as the coach and the mentor. They are the therapist. So let them be in that lane. And then you find some other people to help you to hold you accountable. To be a sounding board like that can give you advice because like not everything that we come up with is like a thing that we should do just because it came to us. I mean, obviously I always start in prayer first about if it's the thing. Like, Lord, just don't let the doors close them all.
Yeah, yeah.
Close them all. Send a sign. Let me know because I don't want to go down. I don't want to make, I'm not trying to work harder. I'm just trying to be smart at this stage in life. And so it's like you just have to like find the right people and put them in your circle and people who will build you up, who you can learn from. I always say, like, every day you should be learning. Like,
Yes.
if you're not learning, I always tell my team this at work. I'm like, whenever you stop learning, I mean, you may as well essentially just die. Because when you have said, like, oh, I don't want to learn anymore, I mean, what else is there for you? Because I'm like, every day is a new opportunity to figure out something new, whether you're learning something, figuring out something about finding something out new about yourself, or, getting some advice that you didn't expect, but something that helps to make you a better person. Like, we want to evolve every day. Like, we should be growing. And if you get to a place to where you feel like, "Well, I'm done. I know everything." As you said, you're just dumb.
Yeah, then you're just dumb if you think that's it. Yeah, because like you said, it's like a flower. A flower is either growing or it's dying. It's not there. When you think about the present and now and in the future, the past, the present, and the future. There's not very much real present. Because present is as soon as I say what I just said, that's now in the past. It is
Right.
already there. So we can choose to live in the past and relive and relive. I have friends that I went to college with, and I love my friends I went to college with. We had such a great time in college. And uh, but I've been out of college 30 years, almost 30 years. And I'm like, okay, so why are we still talking about what we did 30 years ago over and over and over again? Why are we stuck there? How are we going to move to what's going to happen? What I want to know what your life is like now and what you're moving towards. What are you trying to help? What are you trying to make sure happens in life? Like I said, I'm 60 years old. I'm more excited now than I've ever been about my future in life and what I'm going to do. I'm not thinking I need to retire in 5 years or 3 years,
Mhm.
whatever that is, so that I can do what? You
Right.
know,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
my impact is just not getting in the way that I think God really has it for me. And so, I see my dad and he's like 86 years old and he's running in track meets and he's keeping
I love
busy,
it.
doing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's keeping him alive, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if he stopped at 72 and then he's just like, there's not another show that I can watch on television that's gonna make me excited. There's not another, you know, and that's where our health comes in, where we really have to be thinking about
Mhm.
our health and what we do and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff because I can't imagine life. I see sometimes I'll go visit senior homes and stuff. And, some of the people are just so sad and they're so, because they felt like they missed their opportunity. And they want to tell you stories about, and they start telling you, if I would have done this, if I would have, could have, should have. And none of us are on our deathbed going, I wish I would have spent more time at work. I wish I would have done that
Right.
more thing.
Yeah.
They're all saying, I wish I would have spent more time with the people I love. And I wish I would have tried the things that I always wanted to
Mhm.
do. And now it feels like it's too late.
Yeah. I will say, first of all, I have loved this conversation so much. And I want to just say one thing I'm so glad you said because I think this is so important for everybody to hear. Like, there is no age or time limit on when you find when you can make impact, when you can do the thing. Because life will tell you, well, social media will tell you, that world will tell you that, oh, you have to do it now. You have to do it now because if you're when you get to 40, then it's over. Like like your life is done. And I'm like, and if I like had really like listened to people who said, I mean, when I was younger, people were like, oh, in your 30s, you're old. Oh, you're old when you hit 30.
Yeah.
And I just think about that now and just thinking about like now the opportunities and the things that I'm able to do like in my 40s. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I didn't like, just give up on life when I turned 40 because, like you said, like, oh, I'm retired. So now I just go sit in the dumps and just let life pass me by. It's like, no, it's what you make it. It's like there's always new ways to discover new things, to do new things. And maybe the purpose, like you said, I think the purpose is always the same. If you're a person called to serve others and to have impact and helping other people, the vehicle in which you do it may change, but the mission will still be the same. And at 60, it may look different than it looked at 40. It may look different at 80, but don't give up and like don't think that you have a time limit on what your impact can be.
Yeah. Well, and I just see it as the experience, because I kept trying and I kept doing things and I kept, at it
Mm.
through my younger years. Now my experience of what I can get to things a lot faster now because I don't have to go through the same failures over now. Some people just fail the same way over and over again. And that's
Every
when I
time.
tell you they're not talking to nobody. They're trying to do it themselves.
Mhm,
That
mhm,
definition of insanity is so
mhm.
true. Doing the same thing over and over again expecting
Indeed.
the same results is just silly,
Yeah, and
but I feel better. I think I don't know. Obviously I can't do all the things. I can't run as fast as I used to run. I can't, but I tell you, my mind is better. I'm more excited when I get up every single day. I love the fact that I get up and life is ready to take on. I love the things the people that I can impact. I love having conversations every single day. I'm not just trying to figure out how to live like I was when I first got married at 23 and like,
mhm.
ooh, I just came home every day tired because I was, just trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
Now I come home tired just 'cause I'm old, but at the same time, it's not the same mental stress, right? It's
Exactly.
physical
No.
stress. So, oh my gosh, it's just so exciting to be and to be able to talk to people like you that we get to say, wait a minute, this is what life gets to be, and now we get to share it with others, and, we're not just keeping it to ourselves. We're saying, "Wait a minute, I've learned this. I've seen this happen. I don't want you to go down this backwards path here. Let's help you move forward a path here and kinda learn from the things that I've done if you can. I don't want you to duplicate everything I've done because then you might have the same results that I had when I failed.
Yeah.
But if you could just listen to me just for a little bit,
Mhm.
we could get you to where you wanna be, maybe a little bit faster. Now, I'm not an internet I didn't grow up with the internet. I didn't grow up with, some of those things that are there. I was a computer teacher when the internet started, and so I understand it. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I think the distractions and the swiping and all the things, uh, sometimes take away from somebody's ability to achieve, and I don't know how I would do had I grown up in the world that you all
Right.
grew up in, but
Mm.
I know that God has a purpose, and I know that,
Yeah.
He's gonna show
Yep.
you exactly what you need to do and how to do it, and then follow folks that are gonna help you get there.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell everybody out there how they could work with you and how to connect to you, to get in touch?
Absolutely. The best way to get a hold of me is bryanearnold.com. That's BRIANEARNOLD.com. That has everything that I'm doing right on it. I have a podcast challenge that I'm doing like every week. I'm doing I think you go to the podcast, I think, yeah, the podcastchallenge.com. You'll be able to get to that, to be able to sit through that free web class that we do every single week at the Podcasters Academy. There's, like I said, go to my website. If you want to me directly, then I would love to talk to you. I will have a conversation with you. I am not too busy not to spend time with somebody who truly wants to learn. And so I would say that's probably the easiest, best way to get a hold of me. And we'll put some links in here, at the bottom of this podcast as well, so that you can do that if you want to, if that's something you're wanting to do, or if you're just feeling stuck. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if it's something whether I can help you with, or I can send you somewhere that I can help you with. There's no reason to go through this life stuck. You, my friend, are God's greatest gift, and He loves you and He wants you to be successful. And there's no reason for you not to be. First, we got to define success for you, and then we need to work on making it happen. And if I'm not the person, somebody else is, and we're going to make it happen for you.
Awesome. So, Dr. B, do you have like 10 minutes you can spend more with me?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna
As
okay,
much time as you want.
we're gonna do three things with Dr. Brian now. So the first one is a two-part question. I love to ask people this. How do you start and end the day?
I start the day with usually I wake up and then I get onto some kind of prayer YouTube video that I'm listening to that there's some repetitive ones. Then what I do is I go on a walk. I do a 3-mile walk every single day, and that's where I'm listening to something that's going to make my life better, something that's gonna allow me to, be better and be able to impact others. And then I come back and my granddaughter's here, and so, or she's getting here, so I'm making her breakfast and getting her ready for her 3-year-old day, whatever that entails. And then I'll come in here and look at email, but I won't look at my phone. I don't look at email. I don't do anything that is going to distract me from working on me when I wake up in the morning. And then after about an hour or so, and I feel good, and I've, done my walk and got oxygen to my brain, then I can work on all the other stuff that's there. Ending the day, um, same type of thing. Sometimes I relax. I just, I usually end the day with listening to something else that's gonna help me. Or, I have conversations with my wife and we kind of talk about our day and talk about, what's next. I'll look at my calendar for the next day,
Mhm.
say this is what I'm gonna do. And then I don't have any problem falling asleep. Put in some binaural beats or something for sleeping and turn that on and I'm out.
Awesome. So what's number two? What's a goal or intention you set for yourself this year?
Gotcha. I would say I love that intention because I try not to put dates on goals because I think God controls dates and He controls time. We can just control the things that we do. And so
Mhm.
my intention is how many people can I help during this year? Last year I said I was going to do 100 podcasts of Black men between in 2024. I was like hammering it to get it done. I ended up with 105. This year, I want to take it. I want to find out how many people that I can help start podcasts, help start
Mhm.
things. That's a huge thing for me. And then stuff with my kids, like what we take a vacation every other year, and this will be the year that we're going to go on our vacation. And then how can I input into them or impact them in their individual lives? And so making sure I have a Sunday message where it's called I call our family the A tribe, Arnold tribe. And, so I have a section that I do call every Sunday called the A tribe kids. And right now I'm doing all of their names. So all the 16 grandkids, I'm saying, hey, your name is Sadie. This is what Sadie means. This is what, I'm going to speak into your life, Sadie. And, you probably won't understand this right now, but in 10 years, you'll know what it is. I'm going to give you a prayer for you right now. And so I'm in the middle of that and I play games with them and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my goal is to make sure I'm
I
close
love
to
that.
my family and, helping as many people as I possibly can.
Awesome. All right. And where are you currently finding inspiration?
Wow. I am finding that I guess there's a couple people, podcast people that I'm finding a lot of inspiration. One is a guy named Myron Golden. And so Myron is a business strategist who he does it all through biblical purposes. And so I've been listening to him probably for the last 6 or 8 months. That has just been, because every business principle he ties to, like Bible principles from Solomon. And he says, I discovered how Solomon created the more wealth than anybody ever in history. And he's using those principles from the Bible to, run his life right now. And so a lot of inspiration from I just last week I was in Texas and I did went to one of his seminars and I had him on my podcast about a month and a half ago, which was so it's just been yeah, that's been a lot of inspiration. So that he's been a good person for me to have. My family is a great inspiration for me to have. the greatest inspiration is all the folks that I get to have on my podcast and just to be able to have conversations and the ones that I get to go on and talk to different people and create different relationships. And I'd just say there's so much more to life that if we just take that and run with it. And, sometimes I feel bad because some of the people have had lives that I can't imagine. I interviewed a guy that was in prison for 19 years. And when the crime was committed, he was in jail, and so
Mm,
he couldn't have committed the crime, and they
right.
still left him in jail for 19 years. People who've lost their spouses, people who have, not been able to see their kids, all those things, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I don't know." And they've come out and done incredible things and made life just phenomenal, and I just go, "Wow, I'm so blessed."
Mhm.
So incredibly blessed to have the family and the people that are around me, so
Mhm. All right. Well, my final question to you is to ask you to leave the audience with three things you'd like them to take away from this conversation.
oh, that's good. First, that you need to become the person in order to do and have. So you need to become the person that God put you on this earth to do. And you need to do that by having associations. You need to have it by, working on you. That's the number one thing. The other thing is that you can do it. Whatever it is that you wanna do, I want you to be inspired and believe that there is nothing holding you back from achieving whatever it is that you were meant to do on this planet. And so please work at it. Please, put your mind together and do it. And I guess, when I think about the third thing is, like I said, you're God's greatest gift. And I want you to take that away. I don't want you to be stuck anymore. If you're feeling like you're stuck and you're feeling like I can't move forward, give me a call, give me a ring, figure out how to do that because I want you to realize that you are special and you have something that nobody else in the world has. You don't have to compete with anybody because you can't compete with something that somebody else doesn't have because you have that. And so just make sure that you find what that is and that you figure out a way to move forward because you can do it.
So, love those. Well, Dr. B, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. I feel like you need to come back again because
Never
we
say
were just scratching the surface with the conversation. I feel like there were a lot of other things that I have taken away from today that I feel like we can expand on.
Yeah, I would love to come back and yeah, so let's talk to your audience. One of the things that we didn't talk about that I started a podcast and we're working on I want some guest hosts. So maybe you'll be a guest host on my podcast. It's called Why Love Waits. And so I was examining this why black women and black men are struggling with relationship in such a big way. And when I see a statistic that 49% of black women over the age of 40 have never been married, and 75% of them have had at least one child, and they don't trust their men. So we have like 12 episodes now where I had these women who came on and the men, we just kind of go back and forth about,
Mhm.
oh my God, what the things that you guys are taught, the things that men are taught, the
Right.
belief systems that we have, the things that men say, well, I want to I want to love my wife. I don't know how. I haven't had examples. I just had my mom, or I didn't grow up with a dad that taught me these things. And then the expectations or the thoughts of women saying, well, my mom taught me I'm not supposed to trust anybody. I have to have my own bank account. And I'm not supposed to, and I got to hold you at arm's length and I can't really let you in. And oh my gosh, we jump into
Woo!
all of that. And it is, yes. So, oh my gosh, we're
That's
going
That's a very that's very loaded. That is so loaded, but I'm so here for that because I do feel like, I feel like on all sides, I mean, I am married now. I actually just celebrated my 20th anniversary yesterday.
congratulations.
So, I'm so thankful to God, and it's only God. Like, it is only because of God, because it was rough. It was very rough, especially when you're growing up together. You're growing up with somebody, and, as you said, a lot of times men have a harder time communicating, or they even being in the house, there are times where people in the house with 2 parents, but they still don't quite know how to communicate. They don't really know how to love the other person, like, they had to learn how to really love somebody, so, woo.
Yeah, we could just go another hour right now just on this conversation, but we will come back and revisit it. And like I said, I would love for you to be a host on that and really bring this conversation, because this conversation we absolutely have to have and we need to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And family's so important. And you have the experience. You've been married 20 years and you figured it out as a black woman. And I can't talk as a black woman. I can only talk as, a black man who, have grown up and heard the stories in the barbershop and heard, oh, you got to have this and have that, and say, wait a minute, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
how you do it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, again, and yeah, we to be continued, everybody. That's what we'll say.
Absolutely. Right. We're not
All
saying
right.
I just now see you later, right?
See you later. All right, stay tuned. All right, my friends. Wow, what a great conversation. We could have gone, I think, for like probably hours talking. But I hope that you all enjoyed this episode. We went a lot of different places, but really wanting to get back to that place of, you finding your purpose, you being who you have been called to be. We know it's hard, right? Sometimes we don't know, but we know. And we're all evolving, right? We're always evolving to get to the place of who we are, who we've been called to be in this life. So, again, thank you, Dr. B. That was just so awesome. Wow, such great experience, great information, great tips. Check out the links in the show notes if you want to connect to him. And I love that podcast coaching opportunity and how he gives. So if you're somebody out there and you're thinking, I want a podcast too, like maybe sign up, get into that course, and take a stab at it and see if it's something that you truly want to be doing. All right. Well, if you want to learn more about a Glow Up Girl, you can check us out at glowupgirl.com. Also, if you are new to this community, I want to say welcome and thank you so much for stopping in. Hope you'll come back soon. If you've been a community member here, thank you, as always, for the support. If you have not checked us out on YouTube, make sure you go there. We are at Glow Up Girl. Go subscribe, like, leave us a comment, do all the things there. And if you're on a platform where you can rate or review us, please make sure you do it. I really, really appreciate it. And if you're watching, you can see me really, really like imploring and asking for you to do it. And also, if you're on social and you're sharing any of our content, make sure you tag us. Last, if you have any people that I should be talking to, send me a DM on Instagram or an email to hello@glowupgirl, which you can also find in the show notes. I am about to get to that place of looking for and beginning to book guests for Q1 of 2026. Wow. Wow, already? I know. Well, either way, my friends, that takes care of everything for today. So I want to just say thank you so much again for taking time out of your day to listen or watch wherever you may be in the world. So until next time, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.